What's up, Netrunners? Welcome to PeachHack. My name is Ben, and joining me on commentary today is Cory. How's it going, Cory?
Hey, doing good.
Awesome. We are back at the Giga-bites Cafe Store Championship on January 24th, 2015 in Marietta, Georgia. We are moving into round 4 of Swiss, and on the left we have Pete, who is running as Chaos Theory. Chaos Theory gets an extra MU to play with, as well as a slim 40-card deck. And he is going to be running against our very own Cory, who is sitting here right next to me. Cory is running Harmony Medtech, whose ability is that each player only needs one fewer agenda point to win, so 6 agenda points to win rather than your standard 7. Also a very small deck minimum of 40 cards. We're fortunate here to have Cory with us to give insight into his thought process. So Harmony Medtech is certainly an interesting choice. What led you to want to play that?
So I played it a lot prior to this tournament, and I just kind of tend to like a lot of some of the Glacier builds that I think like Tim Bunn came up with a lot on Team Covenant. This has been a fun deck, and I decided to go back to it just before the tournament, so it's a little different.
Now, one of the standard things you see in Harmony Medtech is all 3-pointers, meaning... before we talk about that, you double iced R&D, and Pete is opening with a turn 1, click 1 legwork.
Yeah. Classic out of Chaos Theory.
A very interesting splash. This is an Executive Boot Camp, which is a fairly new card. He decides not to trash it, and a Celebrity Gift. Ooh, and a Future Perfect playing the side game straight off the bat. So as I was saying, usually all 3-pointers, meaning that you only need to steal or either score 2 agendas or steal 2 agendas, and then usually a common include is Shi-Q, which would force the runner to 0 to 2 means he does not win that, but it would force the runner to need to steal 3 agendas instead of 2, so it'll give you the upper hand.
Right.
And he does fail to steal that agenda there.
Yeah, so the cool thing about Harmony Medtech is you can run with only 6 agendas, so your density is really low in the deck.
That's true.
And so the best case is you don't see an agenda in opening hand.
Well, Dirty Laundry is HQ again and pulls the Future Perfect again. We have another side game. Last time you bet 2, this time 0 to 0, and he gets it.
Yeah, and worst case is they get 3 points at the beginning of the game, and now you're pretty much playing on match point for the rest of the round.
Now, are you running Shi-Qs in this deck?
There is, I believe, 1 Shi-Q in there.
Okay. So at least you have that as sort of a backup if you need to.
Yeah. So I kind of took some of the basis of this deck off of the snare delivery service that was on Netrunner DB.
Okay.
So it also tends to play where it can also lure the runner in and just try to kill them and flatline them mid-run.
Meaning, you have the Kitsune trap card.
Correct.
Right. So Kitsune is a piece of ice that has no type. It's just mythic, meaning that you can't break it with standard breakers. And it forces them to access a card in hand, which is usually a snare.
Yeah. Prior to Eater, it was a really good piece of ice.
So Celebrity Gift shows off a Self-Destruct, which is an interesting card. Now, what led you to include this one?
There's a couple of variable cards that I had, and I felt like it was kind of like a fail-safe if I tried to go for an install advance on a Future Perfect.
Sure.
It gave me a get out of jail if I had a Jackson on board or something like that. Or just an extra way to try to flatline the runner, even if I actually had something that could kill them, like a Ronin or a Cerebral.
Okay. Now, one of the advantages of Harmony Medtech is, like I said, that 40-card minimum. Are you running 40 cards or going up to the more standard 44?
Doing 44. I wanted to try to get the most density on the agendas as possible.
Interesting. And Universal Connectivity Fee, an interesting way to spend your influence there. Another kind of trap ice that you can't break with a normal breaker.
Yeah. Best case for this is Kitsune in front, I snare the runner, they take the tag, they continue, and then I drain all their credits with the connectivity fee.
Very
Unfortunately,
nice.
I just did not. I put all the ice in R&D because I was expecting the indexing run that Chaos Theory would do or Maker's Eye.
Sure.
And I just needed to install ice in front of HQ.
Yeah. Definitely a legwork in a nice tight 40-card deck from Chaos Theory is, well, it's obviously a useful splash.
Yeah, it caught me off guard, absolutely. When he just threw it out, I was like, oh, well played.
Indeed. And you and Pete kind of have a history, don't you?
Oh yeah. He's from Augusta, and that's where I'm originally from.
Mm-hmm.
I moved down here for work and everything, and so like we've played a bunch of other games. So you may hear him like trash talking a lot during the game. It's okay. That's normal banter. Don't think he's just a complete jerk during this game. We've known each other for quite a while, and we play a lot of games with each other, and so it's normal at our table.
Good times. It is really funny watching these games to hear your banter, because I think it was actually there for part of your games live.
Yeah.
It was entertaining.
It's okay. He can get away with it. There's only so much you can do to like a 16-year-old kid.
And runs the Ronin, trashes it early. Are you running any unadvanced traps, like second field or anything like that? Something to punish that?
Yeah, in this build, unfortunately, I don't think I was. I think pretty much everything I have had to be an advanceable trap.
Okay.
Aside from snare.
Sure, yeah, I suppose that's true. And usually you're going to want to, well, if you have Kitsune out, you're going to want to keep snare in hand. Indeed. So, it feels like, I mean, Pete hasn't needed to use that self-modifying code on anything yet. He hasn't run into any interesting ice that he's even able to break with a normal breaker. While you, on the other hand, haven't really established much of a server yet, just icing up these centrals.
So, yeah, getting an agenda turn 1 like easily puts me on the back foot.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like struggling to try to defend my main centrals before I even consider building into a remote.
We do have a Chum. Very nice card. I keep on forgetting this is only 1 to res. It's such a good card. It's 4 strength code gate. I mean, for the amount of damage that they can just inflict on the runner, it's a lot of times kind of like an end the run where they just jack out. They don't even want to risk hitting that ice behind it.
Right. And a big trick in this deck, again, prior to Eater existing, if you can chum and they keep going into a Kitsune, handing a snare, most of the time that's game over.
True.
Because they usually won't be able to break the Kitsune, and then they take the 3, and so 6 net damage is usually a done deal.
Yeah, so he decides to jack out and not use SMC for a decoder, but he does just use SMC for a decoder now once he hits Yagura. And either, I guess, Zool or Gordian Blade would be my guess. Yep,
Yeah,
there's Zool.
Yeah.
Zoo 13, if that's more your style.
I like how the chum was like, oh, no. But Yagura, whoa, that crosses the line. I'm getting the breaker for that.
Well, I mean, at least with Chum, you're safe, but Yagura is going to at least deal in that damage. And if you're, concerned about what's in your hand, then it makes sense to get that out. Plus, you see 2 code gates, might as well get out a decoder.
Yeah.
And he decides to jack out after that. Dieseling up, I do see a Mopus in hand, Magnum Opus, which I'm sure he's going to want to get installed soon in order to get economy online.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that hits the table real soon in the match. He probably plays it next turn, if I recall correctly.
With 8 credits, a lot of times what you see, I mean, Magnum Opus is so expensive to play, it costs 5, that you'll see people turn 1, install it, and then use it right away to basically get the money back. Now, you're using Executive Boot Camp here to pop it and get something.
I believe I'm probably trying to grab a Jackson.
Yep,
yeah.
Jackson Howard. Makes sense.
So it's usually there to grab a Jackson or to res and pop a snare in my hand before they run into like a Kitsune or something like that.
Ah, I see. So before, when they choose to continue, you use the Executive Boot Camp to pull a snare.
Yeah.
Then they hit Kitsune. Very nice. I like it. Nice combo. There he is with Jackson. No surprises. And Pete is running Astrolabe, so every time you make a new server, he gets to draw a card, which is very nice, especially against the kill deck.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a problem.
So what specific pieces would you say you're looking for right now with Jackson?
I think at this point, it's probably anything to try to get some more defense on R&D or to just start building some threatening servers. Just to get some good bluff pieces, like I'm looking for either like Cerebrals, Ronins that I can actually like advance and keep. Just anything to try to put some threat on his side of the table. Because right now, like he's got a leg up in the match.
Yeah. You see you taking that Ronin back on some face down guard. After he ran Jackson, went ahead and popped it.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying. I think at this point in the game too, I also drew into a labyrinth server, and I don't want to see those at all. Especially with him on match point,
Sure.
I need to just hold future perfects. I'm gonna have any type of agenda in my hand.
So, do you ever intend on trying? I guess you do intend on trying to score at a labyrinthine server. You just need a safe remote to put it in.
Right, or sometimes it could be like a good like motion. Like you'll motion it and bluff it, and then you might score it if the runner's is afraid of it being something more dangerous than it is. And then Labyrinth gives you like a good kill option because like in the Chum instance, you just don't let him jack out. You make
Sure.
him run through the server.
We do see that Mopus coming out for Pete. And a self-modifying code. Using that ability of Chaos Theory, normally this would be impossible. Well, actually, he does have Astrolabe, so never mind. So he is at 6 NU total, and he's using 5.
Yeah, no, he's got a good setup going right now in this game.
SMC, such a great card. It's basically a fill-in for any breaker. You're so safe, just checking everything. You're face-checking things. Celebrity Gift sees a snare and a June bug in hand, as well as some ice. And it'll be interesting to see how Pete deals with that exactly. So are you running Mushin then in this deck? You mentioned it before.
Yeah, I believe there should be 3 Mushins in there.
Okay. So those will definitely help develop those traps. In fact, you could Mushin a snare if you want to be super tricky.
Yeah, sometimes it works. It's great when it does. The thing about this deck, though, is you kind of want to keep your snares free because you want to have them online for when Kitsune's res.
And how many Kitsunes are you running here?
I believe there's 2 in the deck.
Okay. Well, I suppose that'll do it, as long as you can get them to hit the Kitsune. Do you think Pete suspects the Kitsune is a possibility here?
I don't think so. I just don't think it's something like so Pete hasn't been playing Netrunner that long.
Okay.
So it's awesome that he's picked it up and he's been doing so well, but he's probably only been playing for maybe like a month or 2 at most.
Okay.
And so some of these cards are just new, and you may even hear him ask during the match like some cards that more seasoned players are really familiar with. He's just not quite sure what all they do.
Sure. So he is accessing R&D, and looks like he just sees, I think it was an operation of some sort.
Yeah.
Well, you've got money. You just need things to spend it on, I suppose. Well, and both of you have money. And there's a hedge fund. That's what he saw before. I wonder what Pete's game plan then is at this point. I mean, he's got self-modifying code. He's got a decoder. I feel like at this point he could just kind of money up with Mopus and start running things.
Yeah.
He's on game point.
Yeah, it's probably his best bet instead of just single card checking. But I mean, Opus gives him solid economy, and those are not very taxing pieces of ice he's running through.
Yeah, and with self-modifying code, he effectively has a full breaker suite. I'm not sure what his Sentry breaker solution is, but he could fetch it real easily. So it's there. And of course, whenever I'm running, I'm asking myself, where are the agendas? You said there are only 6 of them in the deck.
Right.
But I mean, going this long without you setting up any sort of remote server to try to threaten the score would make me think that you probably have some in hand.
Yeah, I mean, I said I think before the Jackson I ended up with a Labyrinth. I think I might be okay now, but I have this great tendency when I decide I want to look for something and I draw, and then always my last draw is an agenda. It happens to me all the time.
I always get scared when I draw last click as Corp if I don't have Jackson on the table. I mean, you could just accidentally agenda float yourself when you didn't mean to. Of course, on the other hand, that means that they weren't able to steal it off R&D. But and it looks like Pete just decides to money up, and he is running R&D here. He runs into a Tsurugi, so that'll force him to pop the SMC for some sort of Sentry Breaker. What will it be? So it looks like he's spending 5 total. My guess then would probably be Mimic, I would assume. There it is.
Yep. Oh, classic Mimic.
Good old Mimic. Good old standby. One of the most common Sentry Breakers in the game that you see. No Data Sucker support, as far as I can see. That was a card that he shuffled that was supposed to be part of his deck. I think I did see maybe data suckers in there, so it's possible he's running Mimic with data sucker support. And Zool is a nice cheap decoder, but it is 1 strength, so it would also benefit from data suckers as well. So what they're talking about right now is Tsurugi's first subroutine says that if the corp pays or end the run unless the corp pays 1 credit.
Right.
So Pete was asking if Cory was going to fire that, but he has to either break the subroutine. He has to break the subroutine to prevent you from having that decision. So if he doesn't break it, then he could just not pay a credit, and then I would just end the run. So there's no use in spending the 3 to break the net damage subroutines if you don't break the other one.
Yeah. So instead, his game plan is to try to murder my Tsurugi.
Fair enough. And that is, of course, the downside of such famous Genteki Isas, Tsurugi, and Kamainu is that they're pretty vulnerable to Parasite. A lot of Anarch influence coming in this Chaos Theory deck. Now, Chaos Theory, with a 40-card deck, is well known for being able to set up really, really quickly. Even having just 5 less cards mean that you go through your deck faster, you see the pieces you need faster, and having that extra MU means that you don't even have to wait for a console in order to get your whole rig up, usually. It's a really, really powerful ID. When I first saw it, I was like, what's the big deal? An extra MU, 40 card size, 40 or deck size, whatever. But it's really good. It's actually the runner I'm using right now.
Yeah, it's real awesome.
But we do see another Jackson coming out for you, continuing to dig for important pieces of your game. And we did see an install advance into a remote. Is this an agenda? Now, I mean, I don't think it is because you didn't score it out just now. Instead, you did install the Jackson.
Yeah, I want to say I think this is a Ronin in this game, so I actually get one on the table that I can threaten with.
Sure. And it's always tricky because you have only 1 piece of ice there. And it almost seems like an obvious bluff. Like, what ice could you res that he couldn't get through with Opus, and he already has a lot of money now. So because the bluff looks so obvious, maybe that means he won't run it, which means that it's actually an agenda. Who knows? The mind games all over the place. And I believe Tsurugi is dead is what we're talking about because the Parasite forgot to. How is he on MU? He's fine on MU because of the Astrolabe that gives him the extra memory he needs to host that Parasite. Parasite, notorious for messing up MU. People forget to include it in their MU calculations because it's not there next to your other programs.
Yeah, so now it's coming back into my R&D, trying to grab those last 3 points.
No R&D multi-access, though, which, on one hand, is probably good, because versus Genteki, I'm always scared of multi-access in case of snare or something like that. So he broke the chum. I believe you're probably deciding whether or not to res, and you decide not to. So Jackson says to trash him. I think that's actually the last Jackson, right?
Yes. Yeah, because it looks like you have 2 have already popped.
Yeah. And just decides to money back up.
I don't know what that 2 advanced card is, but it's pretty good.
Yep, I think it's pretty clear now that 2 advanced card is not an agenda, or else it would have been scored a while ago. But it's true. I wonder if he is considering the Ronin threat. Icing up R&D a bit more. It's hard to see if you have any agendas in hand at this point.
I don't believe I do. I think at this point I'm sitting on like a couple snares and then just ice.
Sure.
So which is good. Like I'm set up for the Kitsune currently.
Sure. But of course, icing up R&D would tell me that that's where the agendas are. So.
Yeah, and you see me shuffling, you'll see that I have 2 snares sitting in my hand.
Clone chip, nice. He's got a lot of cards in hand, so I mean, on one hand, it's kind of safe to run last click just because you won't die, but you don't want to take the tag either. So it sounds like, okay, he's popping the clone chip,
This is not my fourth plate.
and, okay, he's getting SMC. Now, that does put him over MU, I think. I don't think he's actually allowed to do that.
Yeah, and I think looking at it now, yeah, it looks like that he went over just slightly because I think he's able to hold 6. And the SMC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it would have bounced him over by 1.
Yeah, so Magnum Opus and SMC would be 4 each, and then Mimic, Zool, and Corroder would bring him up to 7. So he wasn't really supposed to be able to install that clone chip, or that SMC, but he uses it to fetch a Deus Ex just in case of that Ronin, or I suppose in case of a snare that he might hit.
I'm pretty sure you're not running 2 Scorch in there. I don't know, man.
Pete feeling pretty confident there's no Scorch. Is there any Scorch in the deck?
There's no Scorch in
Okay,
it.
I didn't think so.
He's pretty confident.
Sure, yep. Hey, it's not unheard of. If you're running a deck that relies on snares, then it's a lot of Blackstreet players like to include it just in case the runner runs last click and floats a tag, or decides to ignore the fact that tags are things that can trigger Scorches.
Just one of the things about Harmony Medtech is you do have a lower influence allotment. So you're a little tight on some of those fun splashes you can do on some of the other IDs.
So what are some of the ways you're spending your influence? There's universal connectivity fee that we saw.
Yeah, connectivity fee, of course the Jacksons, which it's just the tax
default,
everyone pays. I honestly can't remember. I think it's just like some different ice. I think I just mix it up with. And then there's cerebrals. Cerebrals are also taking up influence.
That's true. So the Deus Ex, getting that out, even though if he had trashed the Corroder, it might have been okay. I mean, there aren't any barriers to be worried about yet. I know he might have another clone chip or something in order to get a barrier breaker back out. But I don't know. If he were to do that legally, I suppose, then trashing the Corroder might not have been a bad idea. Are you running any barriers in the deck?
I think there might be like one Baku or Bakau, however you say
Mitsubako.
that. Yeah, that's it. That guy. I think there might be one in there, but most of the time this deck isn't trying to end the run that often.
Sure.
It's trying to kind of bait the runner in and then just kill them when they get there.
Yeah.
Cory's like, I don't know what to do when he takes these turns.
And Pete is content to money up at this point. You know, and that's a thing you do with Chaos Theory. You've got your full rig. You've got an economy engine, so get money and then make runs. It's just kind of how it works. You don't even have to really draw cards because, you know, what other cards are you looking for? Maybe multi-access, but multi-access versus Jinteki is always scary. And you're installing an upgrade on R&D. Of course, the upgrade everyone thinks of out of Jinteki would be Caprice Nisei. The most annoying. It's so good. Caprice is such a good card.
Yeah. Yeah. You love it when you have it. You hate it when you have to run against it.
Ooh, chum into chum. I like.
Quite chummy server over there.
Chumming around. And with Zool, I mean, it's not Gordian Blade, so it doesn't maintain its strength. So it'll cost 3 to boost strength and then 1 to break. So 4 for each one of those. It'll cost 8 total. So it looks like he just breaks, or no, he lets 1 hit and then jacks out. So
Yeah.
fair enough. It's going to be expensive to get into R&D. Plus, if that is a Caprice indeed, then it might not even be guaranteed. I do see a stim hack in hand. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Stim hacks win games.
Stim hack wins games. That is so true. It's so much fun too. It's like, take a brain damage. Who cares? I got 9 free credits. It's such an amazing economy card. I mean, that'll get you through
it's good to catch a lot of people off guard.
Yeah.
Like a lot of corps see like a scoring window, then they're like, "Oh, look, the runner's poor. He's got no money. I'm in this." And then Stimhack shows up, and it's like, "Oh no, I've made a mistake.
I've made a huge mistake." Well, that Ronin is still hanging out. 3 advancements on it. Of course, that Deus Ex is kind of completely turning it off. It's not gonna. I mean, you could use the Ronin to. Well, okay, you're not gonna use the Ronin at all. So
yeah, I think I tried to change it up to see if I could bluff them back into the server.
yeah. So is that an agenda this time? Is the question. Ooh, indexing. Pays 8. And he does have that stim hack in hand because that'll let him get in twice.
Would you like to run?
So question is it going to res this card? No res. And I'm guessing that's the Kitsune, isn't it?
Correct.
Yes. Ooh, it was a Hokusai grid. Ooh, very nice. Net damage on a successful run. You definitely want to kill him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't access cards on this run, so he'll take a free net damage that he can't do anything about. But he will see the top 5 cards. And now, if you do res that Kitsune, the Deus Ex will take care of the snare.
Right. It's not like a really good spot because he should have enough money to run back in.
And there is a Labyrinthine. And it's going to go straight on top of the deck.
Yeah. This is a bad time.
So it looks like, actually, if he uses the stim hack to get back in. Or no, he's going to use just normal one, which he can do. Oh, no, it is a stim hack. There it is.
Yeah. Because if you're going to win the game,
you might as well win a stim hack.
Right. You need to do it with flair, style, finesse, drugged up.
So you might as well res because you're probably going to win the game is what you're thinking. That's not it's all advanced with twice Jackson in that remote.
Yeah. No, not at all.
So you're going to give him a nice snare food.
Which he'll just Deus Ex.
Yeah, but he does get the tag. But doesn't matter is the question. There's a Labyrinthine on top. He takes 1 net damage from the Hokusai. And then, yep, there's a Labyrinthine.
And you could see when I pick it up, I was pretty confident that that's what he was grabbing. Because if it had been a future perfect, there would have been a chance. But he grabbed one of those 3 servers and just, it's a gimme.
Yep, it's a gimme. Well,
that was a great game. It was a great game. It was a lot of fun.
Well played by Pete. Great job. Getting that early feature perfect was just brutal. But definitely an interesting Harmony Medtech deck. Did you have much success with it throughout the day?
It did okay. I think it split even throughout all the matches. I did have a really terrible round 1 where I literally lost on the first turn of the game to a Leela deck.
Oh, jeez.
It was ridiculous odds on what he had to pull, but it was one of those where, you can't even be upset that it happened. You just, high-five the player across the table and be like, that was incredible.
Yeah, I love it. Just sometimes it happens. You got to reach across the table, shake their hand. It's fun. Well, great games. We're going to be going on to Game 2 here in a minute. Cory, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you.